Welcome back, children, for yet another lesson. Our lesson 20. I'm a teacher Nabor Richard, still handling drugs in society. Let me hope you are set for our lesson today. Let me make sure that you have your materials. Keep all the things that are going to be distracting you away. Get your pen, get your pencil, get your notebook, and start kicking. Fine. We are going to look at drug misuse today, children. But if I look at that, remember last time I left with an activity. I hope you did that work and get your pencil and you are going to mark. So the first question, to give one reason why drugs should be kept away from moisture and sunlight. And we said to prevent contamination. Secondly, to maintain their effectiveness or prevent them from getting spoiled. If you wrote any of that, give yourself a good tick. Then secondly, why should we keep them out of reach of children? This prevents drug poisoning or prevent drug misuse or prevent children from spoiling them. If you wrote any of that, give yourself a good tick. Question number 2, apart from preventing contamination, give 2 advantages of proper storage of drugs. Remember, I looked at very many advantages. So we said this can prevent drug misuse, prevent drug poisoning, and so on. Question 3, to mention one danger of buying drugs from open markets and shops. We said such drugs are not prescribed, they could be fake, they could be expired. If you wrote any of that, give yourself a good tick. And lastly, why should drugs be bought from a pharmacy or a drug shop? And the main reason here is for proper prescription. So let me hope you got all those 4 questions right, and that's wonderful. And I've already mentioned here today we are looking at something yet another important topic, and that's going to be drug misuse. Drug misuse. Fine. By the end of this lesson, we shall get to know the meaning of that word. Remember, I've been talking about that word often. Secondly, to give 2 ways of misusing drugs. How do you think people misuse drugs? Then 3, to mention the cause of drug misuse. And then lastly, to mention the ways of preventing drug misuse. So let me hope you are set. So, start with, what does drug misuse mean? What's the meaning of this word? I know you have got some information about it. Can you write for me something down? We'll let with mine here. So we are saying that, fine, drug misuse simply means the use of drugs without the doctor's advice. The use of drug without the doctor's advice. You could be seeing a man here trying to inject himself. Do you think a doctor advised him to do so? We don't know. Oh, the wrong use of a drug is the meaning of the word drug misuse. You are misusing a drug. You are using a drug without the advice of a health worker. If you happen to do such a thing, then we shall say you are misusing a drug. Sometimes you go and pick drugs anyhow, where your parents kept them, and start swallowing them. If you do such a thing, we shall say you are misusing a drug. Why? Because you have used that drug without the doctor's advice. Hope you have got the meaning of the word drug abuse. Fine. Now our next session here, we need to find out what are the ways of misusing drugs. Can you write for me any 2 ways? I know you must be having them by now. How drugs are misused. We check with mine here. The first one, we are saying sharing drug prescribed for one person may cause drug misuse. Sometimes when people fall sick, they have the same infection, they have the same drug, so they tend to share that drug. If you share the drug, you are misusing it. We shall see, find out what happened. Then secondly, if you take underdose, remember the word underdose? Taking less drug than what has been prescribed. They told you to take 5 tablets, for you have taken 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you are taking underdose. And you said the danger of underdose, you make the germ resistant to the drug, and therefore you won't even be healed. Then 3, if you take overdose, sometimes you have a lot of pain. Say, let me take a lot and I finish. See, that one also you are misusing a drug. You're supposed to be taking 2 times 1, for you to and say, let me take 3 times 4. There you're taking overdose. And what will happen, my children? You are poisoning yourself. And eventually you can even die. We don't want to lose you. Then 4th, if you do what we call self-medication, you are causing drug misuse. This is a common habit among us too. It's a common habit. Children have got a habit of doing self-medication. They just assume that, I think I've got this. Then they take. I think I'm suffering from this. That's what we call self-medication. Then lastly, failure to complete the prescribed dose. I know some of you have already breached any of this. I know you are looking at me. Some of you have already broken some of these things here. You are given to take certain tablets, you didn't complete them. That implies that you misused the drug. If you have ever done some what we call self-medication, you have misused the drug. If you have ever taken underdose, overdose, you have misused the drug. If you have ever shared drugs, you have misused those drugs. So that's very, very dangerous, children. So we did find out. What do you think? According to what they've seen here, overdose, a picture there. Someone decided to take almost a bucket of drugs. That's very dangerous. This person is going to poison himself, and so on. So, what causes this drug misuse exactly? What do you think is the cause of this drug misuse? What makes you to do what we call self-medication? What makes you to take underdose? What makes you to share those drugs? What do you think are the underlying factors behind here? Can you write for me only one of them? Fine. We check with mine here. 1, buying drug from local shops and markets. You looked at this one last time, remember? If you buy drug from those shops and markets, we will not know because they are not prescribed. You either take underdose or underdose, and that implies you are misusing a drug. Ignorance about drugs. Sometimes we take drugs ignorantly. We don't know what we're taking. There you are misusing a drug as well. Self-medication is also among them. Too much pain. Sometimes you have a lot of pain, and you think that when you take a lot, it will eat you very fast. That is also another problem because of drug misuse. Poor storage of drugs. If children happen to access these drugs easily, they tend to eat these drugs, some of them. There you are misusing the drug. Sometimes also there's also poverty. When people don't have money, they tend to share those drugs. Oh, these are some of the factors which may cause drug misuse. Hope you have noted them down. Buying drugs from local markets and shops, ignorance about the drugs, self-medication, too much pain, and poor storage of drugs. Let me hope you have gotten them, children, and you're not going to misuse any of those drugs. Now, in our next session here, we want to see the effects of drug misuse. And already I know you know them. Write for me only 2. Have you written them down? Good. Write with mine here. If drugs are misused, what happens? You can get overdosage. You know the effect of overdose. Underdosage, germ resistant to treatment. In women, it can result in 2 miscarriages. If a woman is pregnant, he can get a miscarriage. The baby can come out. That's very dangerous. So if you happen to misuse any drug, these are some of the things which are going to happen to you. Hope you have noted them down. Now, in our next session, the last session, we want to look at the ways of avoiding drug misuse. Can you think of those 2 ways? I know already you have them. How we can prevent drug misuse? You start with mine here. 1, we should avoid self-medication. Don't ever think of taking any drug without doctor's advice. 2, follow the doctor's prescription. Please, children, follow the doctor's prescription. If they have said take 1 times 2, do that. 2 times 1, take the 2. If they say 3 times 2, do that. Follow the prescription. Don't change those prescriptions, children. Otherwise, you're going to be getting problems. Don't share medicine. If the medicine are yours, the entire yours, don't give them to your sister, your friend, your brother, and so on. Otherwise, if you do that, you're going to be doing what we call drug misuse. And then also, use drugs when necessary. Use those drugs when necessary. That's how you're going to avoid the problem of drug misuse. Hope you have known what drug misuse is, what causes it, what are the dangers, all that kind of thing. Hope you have been good children. So I want you to take care of yourself. But if I go, I leave you with simple activity here. I'm leaving with 5 numbers only. Number 1, explain the meaning of the term drug misuse. Number 2, give any 2 ways drugs are misused. And number 3, mention 1 effect of drug misuse. And number 4, state the danger of sharing drugs made for one patient. And lastly, suggest 1 way of preventing drug misuse. Thank you for being good children. Take care of yourself. Remember, COVID kills. Bye-bye. Everywhere there you.